So good morning from Wicklow Town. My name is John Doherty, and this is just an introduction to mindfulness. Mindfulness is a Buddhist term originated in Buddhism and came to the West not too long ago through writers like John Kabat-Zinn and teachers like Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist, who are quite popular in the West, and many others. And really, it's not unique to the East necessarily, but in the West it means double attention. I find that's the easiest definition to understand. So, as I'm paying attention to what's going on around me now in the external, I'm also listening and paying attention to what's happening inside me at the same time. And that's a bit tricky to get used to if we don't practice it. So it takes a bit of practice to get going. So I'm observing myself as much as I'm observing the outside. What's happening? What sort of thoughts am I having? How am I feeling in my heart? What's going on in my gut, my instincts, or in my body? So, and even at a deeper level, I'm listening into maybe more advanced mindfulness might be, I'm listening into that spiritual awareness, which goes beyond my individual self into oneness, into everything. So, yeah, mindfulness is, when it came over to the West, I guess one of the things that made it popular was it was secularized. It's a great word, isn't it? It was secularized. So the religion and the spirituality bits, if you like, were taken out of it, and it was taken on by psychology. You could say cognitive-based therapies, that type of approach, and therefore, for lots of public and private organizations and businesses and so on. It offered a safe, although safe isn't the word, but it offered a generic safe space that wouldn't cause any upset because of any religious or spiritual tendencies. And so mindfulness mainly today is about stress reduction and compassion, but mainly stress reduction at the moment. So how can I de-stress myself and live a happier life in many ways? So yeah, and I want to just say that the mindfulness I teach, while it may start there, it also goes into spirituality and religious traditions, because I think it's a good toolkit, and it gives a good frames of reference and understanding into many of the contemplative sides of different spiritual traditions. So if you're looking to develop mindfulness, not just to de-stress, but also to go deeper within yourself and to find more meaning and connection, and if you're on a spiritual journey, then I think it's really useful for that. So just coming back to the whole starting point of double attention, as I pay attention to what's going on outside me and inside me at the same time, then I'm listening into both those places, and in doing so I'm moving my identity a little bit away from the person experiencing things to the person watching or observing what's going on. And that part that's watching or observing we call awareness. And the more I develop that part of myself, the awareness, the watching self, then ultimately that is what creates the space and the insight and creates a lot of the changes that mindfulness offers. So initially, a lot of the practices in mindfulness, basic practices, are about Sure, breathing, watching the breath, anchoring yourself more in the present moment, noticing, as I wash my teeth, I notice I'm washing my teeth. All ways of, I think the key term is to anchor away from the mind stream of thoughts, the constant thinking that can often take us away into stressful stories. So anchoring, creating a little bit of stability for ourselves, but ultimately beginning to become this observing self. And the observer goes through a number of transitions. It starts off, most of us have an observer that's probably quite critical at times, or judgmental, or cynical, or and ultimately we want to end up, as we go through different stages of the observer, we want to end up with a kind, loving, more authentic observer. And that's kind of where we're going. We're going from maybe observer that's maybe underdeveloped and negative into something completely different. And that changes everything. It changes everything. It changes our sense of identity. We're not so caught up in the story about what's going on in our lives, because a lot of our identity is now infused with, or is a part of, this observing awareness self. And then as time goes on, that small awareness that is myself, that observing awareness, begins to open and expand and connect into greater awareness. And then that's the second big shift that happens, to provide complete inner freedom and contentment and peace. The peace that comes is beyond description. So thanks for sharing this few minutes with me, just to explore a few concepts around an introduction to mindfulness. I hope it was helpful, and I'll talk again soon.